I manifested that this video would reach the people that it needs to reach. The whole purpose to these videos that I make is to reach the people that notice that there's a little bit more going on than what meets the everyday eye. You know, there's more that meets the eye, the regular eyes. This is a video, and the rest of the videos are for people who see with their other eye and they can see things clearly, and maybe they just don't have the exact connection or link between all these things that they're noticing. If you're watching a video like this, that means that you just noticed that this basic way of life that is fed to you is not really how things should be. And you know that that's not necessarily the right life for you to live. And so these videos that I make is to give insight, basically connecting all of those clues, really. It's a bit toasty out here today, so I'm using this as shade for the remainder of the video, just throughout. But basically, I don't want to make any of the basic videos where people are just talking about manifestation and, you know, just getting your dream life and manifesting overnight and how to manifest more money and, you know, how to look max, how to get the desired person in your life, and all of those things. You know, all of those things are things that you are capable of doing and experiencing if you are the person that is just noticing all this stuff that's happening around us. It's really orchestrated. And if you notice that you've been paying attention to the point where the subtle things, subtle just means it's very slight. Like, watch my hand real quick. It was a slight movement, but I still moved. There's a lot of things that occur in life that move exactly like how my hand did. And these videos that I make is basically just to give you the tools to better notice those things in your own life so that you're able to rely and depend on yourself, you know. And the more that you do that, the more that you'll be able to trust yourself and guide yourself through your life to understand and notice what exactly you need to do specifically for your own life to start actually seeing changes, you know. So this is just me being transparent. For example, for the past 6 months, I have manifested, right? And to be honest, I don't even really like using the words manifest, frequency, law of assumption, law of whatever, and just certain words that I feel like are used very loosely and have become kind of like buzzwords that people know will catch people's attention and will keep somebody watching. You know what I'm saying? Those people know that a lot of people are operating from a place of scarcity and from a place in their ego where, you know, because everybody wants to be the chosen one or the special one or, you know, whatever the heck, you know what I'm saying? Which, if you really understand, you really are, you know, but it's not in the sense that the way that it's presented. Oh my gosh, these geese are flying and fighting, so I'm just kind of trying to keep an eye on that because they're right across from me. What was I saying? Yeah, you know, if you're seeking out a video like this, it just means, okay, I've been living this life. You know, maybe you're in school and you don't want to be. You know, maybe you're in college, or maybe you're doing a job that you're like, okay, you know, I could do this if I force myself, I make myself, I've been doing this for this long, but I just feel like I want to do other things before I cease to exist. Before I'm no longer here, there's just another type of life, a quality of life that I want to experience. And that's why I make these videos, because I also literally was thinking exactly like that, just knowing that there's more to life than what is being fed to me, presented to me, and programmed into me, you know. These tools are for you to reprogram yourself. Up until this point, you've been being programmed by other people with a certain agenda to follow a set of directions that they want you to follow for their benefit. It seems like free will because you're willing to do those things, but you don't know that that's because of that programming. Like, maybe you do know, there's something to it, but maybe you didn't exactly know exactly why it was happening, and it's because of the programming. And that's another word too that I sometimes don't like to use because it's like can be used as like a buzzword. Like, people talk about the subconscious mind now all the time, and basically it's like when you're a baby, you've technically never existed in that body before, or in that set, in that consciousness before. You've never been in that body before. Sorry about that. My phone overheated because I'm spitting heat. Just kidding. But it really did overheat because of the sun. But like I was saying though, yeah, basically these videos are just things that I have realized, over time, and things that I'm receiving as insight that I know could help other people. Also based on the fact that it's helped me, and, different things that I have received in my own life. For example, like, I used to live with and, sure, like, that's fine. It might be cheaper to live with by yourself and different things like that. But, it wasn't exactly the healthiest situation to be in. It's not always the healthiest living with, family members or different things like that. And, just like everybody else, you want to be out on your own and by yourself and different things like that. Long story short, I live in a house. It's 2-bedroom. One of those bedrooms is for my complete art space. That's the room that I use for my art. And that is something that I've always wanted to experience, especially growing up, having to like share rooms with my siblings and different things like that, not having my own space to myself, basically. And the other thing, the other thing too was with my art, like, I don't really show that much of my external like life outside of like what you guys see, but I'll definitely tell you about it. It's like I've always wanted to create things for people, and people buy that. And yesterday, for example, I had all these different types of people that were there to support me, and that's something that I've always wanted. And the patterns that I'm noticing are in direct connection with your mind and what you are doing with your body. I am currently celibate. I know that you've heard that before, where I've talked about or spoke about celibacy. It just helps with everything. The sole purpose of going celibate should not just be just so you can get what you want. You can do whatever you want in life, right? But this is just me telling you things that I've noticed that works, and especially here. Certain things are not a coincidence, and that's a fact. The clearing the mind, though. I don't overly listen to music, and I don't overly watch anything, just because I would rather there be a clear slate for me to work from, as far as what kinds of thoughts I am putting into my mind, what kinds of things I am imagining in my mind, and allowing myself to feel from that, and in paying attention to those slight things that happen around me, and sometimes big things. For example, there was this one time that I was working at this job, and that job, it was very well paying, like, considering that at the time I went from $12, $15, $16 back to $15, and then $21, right? The $21 an hour job, it wasn't physical labor, it was data entry, and basically working on a computer. I'm not the kind of person that really likes to sit in front of the computer because of the LED lights from being in the office and from the computer. But at the building that I was at the time, the lights, they used a lamp in there, so the lights weren't as draining and like hurting my eyes, so everything was pretty fine. It was like, there was a lot to learn, you know what I mean? And I like to organize, so it was something that I could see that I could do, repetition wise, but overall it was not anything fulfilling in the sense that I didn't feel anything for it. I'm like, okay, a person could stay here for what, 5 years, 10 years, or whatever. But that's not what I want to do with my life. You know what I mean? And there's other jobs where it would be better. For example, if, okay, I could get a face painting job where all I do is paint faces or do something artistically, you know, working with kids, or, you know, people booking me to do this for them or that for them. Overall, for me personally, I just wanted to work for myself. You know, I just wanted to work for myself. I wanted to create my own hours and to do something that I enjoy doing. That was the goal, you know, and to be able to sustain myself from that. And I've learned a lot of trial and error from that, but I've also learned that it is possible to do that. There are a lot of things in between that go with that in order for that to be possible, but knowing that it's something that could be possible for you is definitely the first step. And another thing too, when you hear those people say, okay, you asked for this kind of life, you can't be surprised about you getting fired, or about something random happening to where you just don't have that job anymore and you can't have that job. And it might be shocking when you start meditating, or if you pray and then out of nowhere you just randomly see where you just got fired, or now this job just isn't available, they're doing away with it, or they're demoting you, or whatever the heck is going on. Those things are things that you need to pay attention to. And I know that it's weird and it's strange because, you know, in this society, obviously, you know that having a consistent paycheck or having a consistent source of income is important, especially if you live by yourself, and whatever other obligations that you have. You know, it's like you have to be aware of what works for you in your life and use discernment. Not every single decision is going to look the same for everyone, but the end result is really what's to be thought about. You know, if you have extra responsibilities, like if you have children or if you're taking care of people, you know, there's other things that you have to involve within that equation, but there is a way for you to figure that out. But getting connected with yourself, and like I said, clearing that slate so that you can, because the thing is when you're stressed, your survival instincts trigger, you know. And so if you allow something like, okay, you got fired, to trigger you, and you're now about to operate in survival mode, your next thing that you're just going to do out of scarcity is to just hop in and grab whatever job is available, you know, which kind of defeats the purpose of, if you're the type of person that is interested in being self-employed, or you're the type of person that is interested in seeing if you can create a self-sustaining income for yourself doing something that you genuinely want to do, you know. And keep in mind, the people that I'm talking about that have programmed you since birth, they know about all of this. You know, they know what things will cause you to feel what. It's just a matter of you becoming aware of that and learning to control that, and learning that you can control that, and learning that there is a lot that is in your control. There's a lot that's not in your control. And another thing too, because I also was a person that experienced this. I had a plan that when I had that $21 an hour job, I had a plan to keep that job for either a year or 2 years, just saving up all that money, right? And then leaving that job to fully and comfortably pursue what I wanted to pursue. That didn't happen. I was at that job for about, I want to say 3 or 4 weeks. So barely even a month. And, you know, the thing was, though, is that I had to trust that process within that. Of course, it was devastating at the time because it was not in my plan. I didn't plan to lose that job that early. I didn't plan to quit early. I didn't plan to get fired early. I didn't plan any of those things. It was something that just happened. But what was important was for me to pay attention to what exactly I was meditating about, what exactly I prayed about, what exactly I was asking for, what kind of energy was I putting out, period, in connection with the things that just started to happen around me. The losing the job in the time frame that I lost that job made absolute perfect sense. It's just when you are at these jobs, of course you can start to be dependent on the jobs. You get used to being at the jobs. You get comfortable to being at the jobs. So for it to be completely ripped from under you unexpectedly, it can be triggering, but you can get control of that. And yeah, I just wanted to put this video out for anybody that needs to hear this, because I know that there's people who have already passed the stage of knowing that this stuff is real. You know, you've already had experiences with yourself to know that your thoughts do affect the things that happen around you. It's really cool because it seems like some stuff you see on TV, you know, to experience that in real life. And the more that you pay attention to these subtleties, the more that you will be able to pick up on the even more subtle things. And it will become easier and easier and easier. When you see those people that are on the internet, some of them are just on there, like I said, they're kind of like clout chasing, and they're just saying all the buzzwords that they know will get people's attention. But there are some of them that have literally started from the bottom and gotten to that position because, this doesn't even have to mean, luxury lifestyle. It just means position in the sense of living the exact life that they want to be living. You know, where they are controlling some of the outcomes that they want to experience. And you can as well. I always say that in my videos. It's not just for special people. Just because you see somebody else on the internet doing it, you know, and just because you haven't made it there yet, that does not mean that it's out of your realm of possibility. It will only be out of the realm of your possibility if you think that it is. So yeah, I hope this video reaches the people that it needs to reach. I manifested that this video will reach the people that it needs to reach. Just keep going. You got this, I promise.